Hi, my name is Leah Day, and welcome to this video for the Free Motion Quilting Project. Today we're learning another free motion quilting design. This one's called Crack Maze, and the inspiration is basically I cracked a bottle, and I love the pattern that it created whenever all those cracks zigzagged out. So I want to try and figure out a way of showing that on a quilt. So let's get on the machine and see how this works in free motion. So I'm working in a little 4-inch square today, and this is a foundational design, so I'm going to get started by stitching just a wiggly line randomly across my quilting space. So I'm going to break up first this square into basically kind of a smaller arrangement using only wiggly lines. So let's stitch another one. And if you've been following along with the project, this is basically the same start that we used for a design called Foundation Puzzle. The only difference here is we're using these wiggly lines kind of as a more open foundation for our design. We're not going to fill these spaces with spirals, we're going to fill in with something very different. So basically just breaking up the space in this way, breaking everything down until it's nice and small. And you know, you don't have to work right off of, you know, like for the last several lines I pretty much hit the edge of my quilting space and then immediately stitched kind of, I have all these points basically is what I'm saying. You don't have to do that. You can always travel stitch over a bit and stitch your wiggly line in that way, and that's perfectly fine too. Okay, now at this point, I basically want to look at all the spaces that I have, and I want to crack them. I want to fill them up with even more wiggly lines. So I'm basically going to work within each space, travel stitching, stitching a wiggly line, travel stitching again, breaking up each section until they're pretty much uniformly small, you know, broken into smaller cracked spaces. And so there's a good bit of travel stitching involved just to kind of keep the area in mind, you know, move through it, create those nice combination of wiggly lines that will break it up completely. Now for the next space, there's only one rule that I'm really setting myself. I don't want the cracks to meet up. I don't want these lines to continue to appear like they're flowing through the whole space. I want each area to appear cracked. So I don't want these lines to meet up with the lines before. So I'm going to travel stitch and wiggle off. Travel stitch and wiggle. Meet up over there. And it's fine if they're close, but just so long as it's very apparent that, you know, everything's cracked in a very random pattern. And sometimes randomness is tricky. Sometimes it can be a little difficult to stitch completely random and free form. Now let's work on this little space. Looks good. And basically just continue to work through your quilting space, breaking up each space completely. You can break them up as fine as you want, with as many lines of cracking as you want, or you can keep things very open. You know, you could fill one space with just basically 2 lines like this and call it done, and that's perfectly fine. The texture is going to come in as each space is filled. As the lines build up and don't meet, I think the texture is really going to show off and stand out the more lines of quilting that you put within it. And don't be afraid to move your quilting square around just a bit. If you can't see what you're doing, then you can't stitch it really easily. So it's important to be able to see what you're doing. I'm going to work my way over here and add some lines up here. So you can see in this space I left things a lot more open as I started building up more and more lines of quilting through this space, it became even more complex. And I think that that's really going to be something to play with. You know, experiment with only a few cracks, only a few lines of quilting, experiment with a whole lot and see what you get. So that's it for this video. My name is Leah Day, and this has been a video for the Free Motion Quilting Project. Find hundreds of videos stitching out many beautiful free motion quilting designs at freemotionproject.com. Until next time, let's go quilt.